Hi, folks. I'm Chris Huntingford, and welcome to Agentic AF. That's architectural framework to you, my friends, not what you were thinking. Anywho, I decided to put this together because I get a lot of questions on LinkedIn, on WhatsApp, on Teams, carrier pigeons, smoke signals, and it's impossible to answer all of them. It's literally impossible. So I figured what I'll do is I'll stick something together and share it with you based on what I've experienced from delivering agentic AI solutions all over the place, including things like actual solution builds, architecture, governance, red teaming, simulations, and all sorts of wonderful things like that. Now, the program of work is kind of high level courses that I'm going to be running through, and I'm going to be going through them pretty quickly. If you want to get more detail, I think you got to hit me up in my DMs. It's pretty important that we do go deep at some point, but right now this is going to be a bit more high level just to give you an example of how this all works. Now, the point is that I think a lot of folks are struggling to productionize agentic solutions for a number of reasons. I think the primaries are a lack of understanding around how to design them, how to architect them, how to prime them with good data, as well as how to do things like red teaming, which makes sure that the solutions or systems you've built give you the right answers. So in this course, we'll go through a bunch of stuff. It's going to be super fun, super colorful. I'm going to keep it loads of fun. And yeah, like I said, it's going to be important for you to hit me up if you want to get more detail. Now, we're going to go into the first section in this bit of the course, which is going to be the intro, which is around frontier firms. And I want to run through this quickly. I know it's a bit of a marketing spiel, but it's kind of important for you to understand what this means, and in the context of agents, why it's here, right? So, a frontier firm is effectively a firm or an organization that has put AI at the forefront of what it's doing. Okay, so there's lots of organizations out there that say they're frontiering, which is now a new Microsofty type verb, I think, frontiering. Sure. Um, but yeah, it doesn't really have a defined set of checkboxes or defined set of things that you're doing. There's no like, oh, you're using 15 generative AI assistants, you're using 45 generative AI agents, and you have a agent operations manager. That's not what a frontier firm is. It's an organization that is trying to enhance the way they work or augment the way they work with AI. This does not mean that you're getting rid of a ton of people. That is a bad idea. Okay, and I will get into that. I will get into the personal side of things. I will get into the human aspects of it. My good friend Donna and I run a company called Stay Extra Human, which is really cool. So that focuses on the human side of things. I'm going to get a bit techie in the first few, but we will get onto that. Okay, so I don't think that you should be firing a bunch of people because of AI. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And if you're doing that, I'm sorry, you shouldn't be watching these videos. Anyway, so where are we right now? Well, they talk about three phases of frontiering. The first phase is what we call human with an assistant. So we use a lot of AI assistants all the time. I use generative AI all day. I use multiple assistants. I use Claude, I use Copilot, I use ChatGPT. And yeah, it just depends on sort of what I'm doing, where I am, right? So my day to day, I'll pop up in Copilot. I'll ask it a bunch of questions. You can see I've got loads of them that I kind of ask it every day, and it's important for me because Copilot provides me with that ability to information on tap. Right, like it's not always right. No AI tool is always right, so you have to fact check that. And I do love the fact that you can see it actually references information. That this is directly from my inbox, but I use generative AI every day as an assistant. So I kind of think of it as a really enthusiastic intern who's keen on helping but doesn't understand morals and ethics, right? Luckily, Microsoft bake a lot of responsible AI into their products, which I will demonstrate to you a lot along this course in the testing, simulation, and red teaming phases. But for now, we're just going to assume that it's pretty okay with answering correctly, but you must fact check. It's super important. Okay, so fact checking is really key. But I use Copilot as an assistant every day. Now, here's the deal. Yes, we're using AI as an assistant, but I still think we're in the solitaire era of AI. So you're probably like, what on earth has solitaire got to do with AI? I'm going to explain, right? There's a reason Microsoft included solitaire in Windows, and it's not to keep you entertained, although the game is cool. It was originally to teach you how to use a mouse. And though you may mock me about my epic cabled gaming mouse, actually it's the most more reliable than Bluetooth for me. And yeah, that's how I roll, right? I haven't learned yet to control the pointer with my mind. I will one day, but no, I'm a mouse person. And actually, it was put there so we could learn to use a mouse. In the same way that when we look at tools like assisted generative AI or embedded AI, which we'll talk about later on. Embedded AI is AI in product. Okay. What's really key is that we're learning how to prompt. We're still learning how to talk to artificial intelligence. So we're learning to prompt. We're learning to construct prompts. A lot of my prompts are massive. I mean, I've got like pages and pages of things that I stick into AI tools. And when I first started out, the first thing I put into AI was um, show me all the documents with passwords in them. Obviously, that's naughty. And I know one of my friends did that as well. I won't mention any names, aka Ducks. But it was really interesting to see that actually we started off doing these very basic prompts, and now we're learning to collaborate and talk to AI more and more. Okay. So I still think we're kind of moving out of the solitaire era of AI where people are learning to prompt and getting good at it. Okay. Now, the next phase is what we call human agent teams. Now, you're all going, oh gosh, we have agents in our teams, gone are our jobs. No, this is still assisted, right? Like we're using AI to assist us. And actually, when you think about these concepts of agents, which I will walk you through very shortly, these agents are like these digital minions that sort of live at your disposal, right? So you can invoke this digital minion to do some stuff and then you can get rid of it when you need to. Okay. So if I think about human agent teams, you can see that I've got a bunch of agents on my left hand side. Tools like researcher agents and Copilot, I use all the time. It gives me great content, and I can invoke these agents when I need them. Okay, so this is hyper important because as I need agents, I can call on them, and there are more and more agents being released as we go. Now, you can see that you've got your built by Microsoft agents over here. These are absolutely brilliant, and I highly recommend you start leveraging some of these as much as you can. They have recently released a set of agents called Cowork, which I will talk about again in another session. Super cool, but it actually helps you operate in your business a bit more fluently, right? You can see that I study planetary sciences, and one of the things I built was an astrobiology bot or agent. And this astrobiology agent allowed me to kind of research through my lecture material and do all sorts of cool things. I did take a little far, but I've got this agent that's specific to that, and I'll talk about what an agent is again very shortly. So these are assisted, right? So you need to invoke them. There's a lot of manual work. When we get to the third layer, which is what we call human led agent operators, this is a little different, right? And this is really where you're actually having yourself as the leader and you will have agents augmenting teams. Now, I will talk about why they will never replace humans. Okay. But agents are really important in the sense that they can be invoked or they become autonomous, right? So they might live in the background, which again, I will speak about later. So these agents augment teams and they allow you to do things way quicker. So, as an example, one of the things that I absolutely hate is doing documentation, right? I don't like it. I'm not good at it. Well, actually, I am pretty good at it. I take it back. I'm awesome at documentation because I'm very phlegmatic. I get involved in the detail. But I sometimes wish I wasn't because I get locked into this like paradox of detail, which can be quite tough. So agents help me get out of that, right? And these human-led agent-operated teams are really about focusing on augmenting your workflow. Okay. Now, yes, that does mean your job will change a little bit because as opposed to kind of you doing the work, you're running the observability on agents doing the manual stuff that you don't want to do. Okay. I wish there was a expense management workflow that was augmented with agentic AI properly, right? Now I know we've got like, hey, I can AI a receipt into my phone. Why do we need receipts? Like anyway, that's just me going on a rant. I'll get to that at another point. But these human-led agent-operated teams are really where a lot of orgs are also starting to look. Now, friends, do not feel pressure about going to phase three. Here's the deal. Everyone's like, yay, we have digital minions doing all our jobs for us. That is nonsense, right? Like, I've seen some organizations doing this pretty well, but actually, most people are moving from phase one to phase two. Okay. Like, we're learning about the whole concept of using assisted AI. Now we're baking these agents into our teams, but I don't think there are many people that actually have got like billions of agents doing all their jobs. There have been stories about organizations firing the contact center and then having to rehire everyone because they didn't understand what AI does. Okay. And I will talk about that because it's super important to understand that these agents will augment what you do. You know, so yes, your jobs will change, but they will augment. You will become an observer and you'll become somebody that manages these agents, which will get interesting. Maybe better than managing people. I don't know. We'll see. So let's quickly talk about this. What exactly is an agent? Now, I don't think we're going to very swiftly have robots busting through the clouds, wielding weaponry, and us having to fight them off just yet. I don't think your toaster is going to come to life and start cleaning your house, nor do I think your Roomba will grow legs and go to the pub with you. Okay. I think that agents are very specific in what they do. Now, there are some naysayers that say it's a glorified if then statement. You know what? Fine, you can think that, but I think still this is very deterministic, right? Like you can see that each one of these branches has an end. I think agents are a bit more non-deterministic, and in their approach to the way they do things and the way they're designed is a little different to nested if then. So all you all that are saying that agents are nested if then else, well, you're wrong. Sorry. Anywho, here's a breakdown. So an agent is autonomous. It's an autonomous system. Okay, I'm going to pause there. Autonomous means it's a bit like the wind, right? So it can run in the background, it can be invoked, right? But you don't always see the wind. You see the results of the wind. You see the trees moving. You see the leaves blowing. You feel it on your face. You're not going to feel an agent on your face. That's weird. But you will see the outputs of agentic AI, right? And that's really important. But it is a system. It's a collection of things. Agents perceive its environment. It understands its environment. So you can lock it into a specific environment using guardrails, and you can say, hey, agent, this is all you're allowed to do. Okay. Now, this is key because if you create an anything agent, it's going to have an anything environment and probably go rogue, right? It's going to go and, I don't know, delete all your emails depending on what you put in there. So your environments of your agent can be very specific. And I will talk about how the environment is set up. Agents can make decisions and you can give them the ability to choose, right? Now, you can't really say to an agent, you have infinite decision making ability because then it's just going to give you random things like purple dinosaurs or the powerful mighty waffle from the sky because it doesn't know. You've given it too much, right? So it's always good to give it the grounded in good data and give it the ability to make that decision based on specific data sets. It acts to achieve. So what agents can do is act. They have tools. They have the ability to do things. Okay. If it doesn't act, it's a co-pilot. If it acts, it's an agent, right? And you can give it goals. So you can set goals for the agent. So I can say, agent, your job is to capture data. That's all you do all day and all night. I would love it. I've actually built a couple of these agents actually, and I like the fact that they do capture data for me because I hate data capture. What's also key is that agents have an engine. So much like your car, an agent has an engine. It's called a large language model. Now, if I was you, I would go and check out this link at the bottom, aka.ms whack AI-agents-beginners. It's super interesting. It's high code, but it's very interesting to see the perspective on what agents are. And I've used some of the content from this course. So thank you to the Microsoft team who put that together. It was excessively helpful to me. Okay. But what agents have is they have this engine called a large language model, which is then kind of primed with knowledge. Okay. So the large language model is the engine and the knowledge is the brain. Now, as an example, if you said to me, hey, Chris, you treated me like an agent, tell me about why the dinosaurs were extinct. I could probably give you some theories on that because I'm grounded in good information. Or, Chris, tell me about the Fermi paradox. And I'm grounded in information about that. I can tell you that the Fermi paradox states if aliens exist, why didn't they visit us? And I can tell you why. See Reddit. Okay. But if you told me, hey, Chris, explain to me how heart diseases work and how they can be cured, my knowledge is not that. I'm not grounded in that data. Although the engine, my brain is still operational, I'm not able to give you answers to that because my knowledge, I'm not grounded in that knowledge, right? And agents are like that. So the more knowledge you give them, the kind of more dispersed the information is. So often it's better to give agents a more defined set of knowledge so that the engine can run on that knowledge. Okay. So very important. These agents are have that engine. They have the ability to drive that knowledge. But here's something important. Think about your vehicle right now. Okay, now some of you are mechanics. That's cool. I'm not. And the last time I opened the bonnet of my car to do anything was, I don't know, like a year ago, because my car is intelligent, right? Like, I guess I drive a Skoda. No, I'm not upset. I think they're awesome. They have umbrellas in the door. Haha. And I've got pink lights on the inside. Yes, it's very cool. Anyway, based on that, I've not opened up the hood to look at the engine at all. I take it to a mechanic to do that, right? And even then, they don't really need to do that because the car's intelligent. But here's the deal. In the agent that you build, you don't necessarily go into the LLM to do anything, right? And a lot of the things that we create typically just leverage the engine. They are not the engine, right? And we're so hyper fixated on LLMs and ABCs and DEFs. Actually, think a little bit more abstractly, right? Like actually there's a layer on top of this that just simply uses the engine. Okay. And in a lot of the tools I'm going to show you, like Copilot Studio, Microsoft 365 Copilot, and Azure AI Foundry or Azure Foundry, you will not necessarily change the LLM, you will simply use it. Right. Now, here's the other deal, and we will get more detailed in this. A lot of people think that when they put AI into their business process, they've created an agent. They have not done that. That is simply sparkling automation from the autonomous regions of Seattle, to quote Donna. Right. What's important is that that is not agentic. That is still linear, and I will get into this in the next part of the course, right, about what actual agentic workflows look like. But it doesn't mean you have an agent. Okay. It is very different. Having a workflow with a simple task that reviews an email is not agentic. It's still deterministic. You're just using agentic AI. It's not an agent. Okay. So you cannot call a workflow agentic AI. And I will break that down for you in a lot more detail in other sessions because I will show you how to build out agentic workflows properly. Okay. You don't just hammer all the functionality into one agent. That doesn't work. The last point I want to make is the goal is I think I would like to help you guys move away from just enabling kind of co-pilots and assisted AI in your business all the way through to actually building out something that you can scale across your organization. And this is hard. And the reason it's hard is because AI operations are difficult. Okay. Like DevOps is very deterministic. AI ops is not deterministic. It is so different. And that's why a lot of these agents don't make it into production, is because we don't think about the way in which we architect and build them, right? Often with agentic AI, because it is non-deterministic, the output is different every time. So how do you test for that? How do you make sure that this is accurate enough to be released? So in this course, I'm going to take you through this process. I'm going to show you all how to do that. I'm going to show you how to actually ideate, select ideas, break those ideas down into tasks, actually build out your agentic architectures, build out your technical architectures, figure out the tool that you need to use, and then finally actually progress these agents into something that's scalable. So that is the goal for this course. The next session, what I'm going to be doing is talking about the various types of agents that you get, what they look like, and how they operate. So stick around, friends. This is going to get lots of fun. You're going to get hands-on, and I'm hoping you're going to build something really cool and use this material more widely. Thank you so much, folks. See you all later.